Before there were maps, there were two worlds. The world you know, and the shining realm of Kaf, hidden just beyond it. A kingdom of fairies and giants and magic. On the night he was born, an emperor 1,000 miles away woke from a dream. A black crow that stole his crown, and a bright hawk that flew out of the west to win it back. And the wise men said, "That hawk is a child, and he will shake the thrones of the world." That same night, the fairies of Kaf carried the sleeping baby across the sky. They blessed him, and they touched his eyes, so that nothing hidden could ever hide from him again. His name was Hamza. He would become the bravest champion the world had ever seen. Strong as a lion, a warrior against 100 armies, a prince who lost his heart to a princess, and at his side, the cleverest trickster who ever lived. Amar, a thief of 1,000 disguises, and the truest friend a hero ever had. Together, they crossed burning deserts and enchanted mountains. They faced sorcerers and giants and dragons and the demon armies of Kaf. They saw wonders no eye had ever seen. Thrones that flew, cities of gold, gardens that bloomed in the dark, courage, magic, love, and laughter. One of the greatest stories ever told, carried for 1,000 years. And now, it is yours. This is the Dastan of Amir Hamza. Let me tell you first of the second head of that one strange animal. For the three were like a single creature with 3 heads, strength and aim and thieving. And the strength was Hamza. There was a schoolroom in Mecca, one bright mid-morning when it came to light that Amar had been running a ring, smuggling sweets past the schoolmaster and selling them to the other boys. The master's turban was found flying from the flagpole, and the master's cane was up in the air, high over Amar's flinching back. And then, of a sudden, it was not. For a boy of 10 was standing in the very arc of that swing. He had not leapt. He was simply there, the way a wall is there. He did not glare. He did not say one word. He only looked up at the master with something far worse than defiance. He looked up with calm, and he held it. 1 beat, 2, 3, and the cane wilted in the master's hand, and the whole class forgot to breathe, and Amar, from the floor, filed that moment away forever. Now understand, children, what that schoolmaster understood, before ever a king did. The boy was not brave. Brave men are men who conquer fear. This one had no fear to conquer. Kaf had drunk it clean out of him in the cradle. What stood before that cane was only this. Everything Hamza loved stood behind him. And that was the one place, all his life, he ever chose to stand. Between the harm and his people. So they grew. There was a flight to the slopes of Mount Abul Kubais, where a rain of well-aimed pebbles kept every pursuer comically at bay. There was Muqbil, silent as a shadow, who could knock a date off a wall at 40 paces with a thrown stone, and no man ever saw him take his aim. And there was the day Amar vanished for a whole day, and Hamza turned Mecca upside down until he found him, and then could not decide whether to embrace him or to throttle him. For here is the secret of the boy who feared nothing at all. He had exactly one terror in the world, and it was the losing of his people. And so, to the day, the gifts came down. There was in the town a horse that no man could ride, a monster of a beast, chained and muzzled, its eyes like a court in open mutiny. And a bargain was struck, brokered by Amar, of course. Ride the thing, and it is yours. The horse exploded, and Hamza did not so much break it as outstubborn it, wall to wall across that yard, until the beast stood trembling and beaten, and Hamza, for the first time in all his young life, was utterly spent, and slid down against a rock beyond the edge of the town, worn to nothing, and it was there the unseen came to find him. A veiled horseman led up a black stallion whose coat drank the very sunlight, a horse from the stables of the prophet Isaac, and they called him Black Constellation. And a hand of light came to rest upon Hamza's shoulder, and the desert was, for a moment, very quiet. Amar, meanwhile, had come chasing after his friend on foot, complaining the whole weary way, and at a well he met a green-robed old man, Khizr, who took one look at him and laughed, and the old man blessed his legs and raced him. And Amar lost the first and lost the second and won the third, because he cheated. And Khizr, delighted, said to him, "The wind itself will envy your feat, and debt collectors will write poems of grief." And Muqbil, poor Muqbil, left behind, and certain now that his two milk brothers had outgrown him at last, was found at the very bottom of his sorrow by a voice like calm, still water. And a bow was set into his hands, and from that hour his arrows would not miss. Now the prophecy that an emperor had dreamed came to pay its first coupon. For out of the east swept the raider, Hisham of Khaybar, the crow of that old dream. And the crown of the emperor was in his fist. It was in his fist for exactly as long as it takes a rider to come out of Mecca. Black Constellation at full stretch. Muqbil's arrow taking the raider's standard clean out of the sky. And Hamza and Hisham meeting once, and hard, and the crow breaking, and the crown handed back, gently, exactly as the dream had shown it. And on the long road home the conquered chiefs knelt down and rose up again as companions. Adi Madikarib, the giant, the glutton, the innocent. His appetite was as vast as his arm. His rage arrived whole and left whole, and he wept as hugely as he ate. There was Adi, the giant, an ex-brigand whose appetite became a legend on the spot. "Double his rations," said Hamza. "No, treble them." There was Tauk, who walked with a tiger at his heel. There was Sultan Bakht and Manzar Shah. For mercy, children, was building this army, one spared enemy at a time. And in Mecca, the old chiefs scattered arms along the road, and Hamza knelt and kissed his father's feet, and the whole city roared out a new name for him, not Hamza, Amir Hamza, the commander. Now word of all this reached the emperor, Nowshavan, and he was genuinely glad, and he dictated a letter of thanks and a robe of honour. But Baktak, that sleek and hungry man, shut out from the good news, laid his hands upon that letter along the road, and swapped it. And the copy that reached Mecca named the heroes as beasts of burden, and gave the emissaries themselves forged and filthy insult names. The letter was read aloud at the feast, and there fell a silence with knives in it, and Hamza's face went very, very still. Mark that stillness, children. In this man it is a worse thing than another man's rage. And then Amar rose, beaming, and clapped his hands for the next course to be brought. And before the emissaries were set heaped platters of grass and bones. "Food," he cried, "fit for the guests as they are named, and for their robes of honour, a pack saddle and a dog's blanket ceremonially draped across their shoulders." Daggers came out. Tauk disarmed both men with a yawn, and the emissaries fled back to the emperor and lied, until the old vizier Buzurjmer quietly produced Muqbil and the true letter, and the forged one beside it. And Baktak was fined and banished, the first of very many times, for that man is always, always back, and he grovelled his way out of the hall. And the emperor, watching the proof burn, said softly to himself, "The hawk restored my crown, and I have taught him what my word is worth." So the emperor's true apology came at last, carried by Buzurg Ummid, the old vizier's own son. And that young man, as a professional courtesy, first conned Amar out of every stitch he was wearing and left him bare as an egg on the open road. And then he dressed him again, piece by piece, in the regalia of the trade. The Ayah's kit of 444 tools, the waxes and the oils of disguise, the ropes, the little vials and the zambil, the bag that holds more than the whole world. Rule 1, he said, whatever an Ayah can lift belongs to him. And Rule 2, asked Amar. You have just failed it, said Buzurg Umid. Never let another Ayah teach you Rule 1. And for Hamza there came a pavilion that had belonged to the prophet Daniel, and a great serpent banner that cried out his war name and breathed perfume when a battle drew near. So the emperor sent a robe, and the vizier's son sent a lesson, and heaven sent a horse. Mir Nigar, princess of Ctesiphon, now Shavan's own daughter, and the one heart Hamza would never turn from. Passionate, unashamed, iron faithful, never a prize to be won, but a will to be reckoned with. And far away, in the emperor's own city, a princess heard the name Hamza spoken for the very first time, and asked twice over how the story of the letter had ended. Sleep now, children. The lamp burns low, and tomorrow I will tell you of that princess, and of the night that a name became a longing.